We'll go ahead and we'll start. For all of you that I have not met, my name is John Daly, and it's good to meet you all. And we're going to do a whole class today devoted to not only resumes, but your applications and cover letters, which are all very, very important things. So how many of you have been on a call before? Can you give me a thumbs up on there, or is there any way that you can unmute yourself that I can hear your voice?
Yes.
Dixie, you've been on one?
Yes, yesterday.
Yesterday?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, but not one of my classes.
Oh, no.
Oh, okay. Well, let me tell you a little bit about myself for those of you that don't know me. I was in the special event industry. I was in the hospitality industry for 44 years. And I retired about 10 years ago, and I started the Key class. And I started it because during the period of time that I was doing events, I interviewed hundreds of people, and through those interviews, I found some really great interviews and some really poor interviews. And so what I've done is I decided to give people a leg up and be able to put together a great resume and interview correctly. Next week, we're going to talk more about doing research on the company and how to do your interview skills and so on and so forth. But mostly today, what we're going to talk about is going to be, as soon as I can make this work, let's see. We're going to write about a powerful resume. Now, I invite you all to use the chat box if you have questions, because I want to be able to answer your questions for you. Or if you want to speak up and have a question, please do so at any time, because there's some really important information, and I want to make sure that you're understanding everything that I'm talking about. So today we're going to talk about filling out an application and the importance of filling out the application. We're going to talk about the resume and how do you write a strong resume. And then we're going to talk about the cover letter. So first of all, we're going to talk about the application. And now, are we covered up with the, maybe I can get this to go up to the top. I don't know how you do it. Does anybody know how? No? Okay. I just want you to be able to read everything. We're going to talk about the resume. A job application is the online or the hard copy information that you get from an employer. They're going to give you an employment application to find out some basic needs about, not needs, but basic information about yourself. And it's really important that when you're filling out the application that you are totally honest with everything that you write, because what happens is down at the bottom of the application, you're going to find that you have to sign the application. And as soon as you sign the application, it becomes a legal document. And so somebody can let you go at a later date. They can let you go if you have not filled out everything honestly. And so that's very important that you fill it out. And even if you've had some sort of a criminal record, if you have had a criminal record, that's okay, but put it down on the application and then explain yourself. So I want to talk a little bit about that, the criminal record thing. First off, if you have had a criminal record before you are 18 years of age and you are looking for a job and you are under 18, then you have to say that you have had a criminal record. But after the fact that you, after you turn 18 years old, you can go and you can have your record expunged. In other words, cleaned. So you don't have to admit to of ever having any kind of a record. So, but you can only do that one time in your life, and that's when you turn 18. And if you do it within the first, I believe now it's sort of changed. It's gone back and forth with other counties and states. But if you do it within the first 3 months, there's no charge to do it. If you don't do it in the first 3 months, then I think there's a charge of something as minimal as $45. It's not a huge charge, and I would definitely pay to have that done, because then after you fill out an applicant, or when you fill out an application after you're 18 years old, and it's asked if you have a criminal record, you can say no. Does that make sense to everybody? Does anybody want to comment on that? You want to definitely have it done. They will not come to you. You have to go to them. And it's very important that you do go to them, because you don't want to have a record showing. That's for sure. Okay. Then the resume. This is the first document that you're going to present to your future employer. Therefore, it must be representative of the abilities to be clear, concise, neat, and well organized. My suggestion is that you have a resume with a work that is in a working copy. And so you can then send the actual resume that you're going to send in a real neat manner, because you're going to want to make changes and so on and so forth. And you're going to want to change that up as you get into writing the resume. In resumes, there's all different types of templates that you can use. And those templates come from, you can go to Word, or you can go to Google, or livecareer.com is another one. The livecareer.com you have to pay for, but they offer a wide variety of templates for different jobs, types of jobs, because different industries require different types of resumes. They're all going to be the same information. They just like to have it shown to them in a different manner. So, and you can also do resumes on Photoshop or Illustrator. Any of those are good. Word and Google are the ones that they do offer a nice match for most jobs, and there is no charge for that. Any question on that? resume builders is what's so good about it is you can pick a whole different look that you're going after. And that's important because your look, the look of the resume is going to make your resume stand out. And that's what you're after is, remember, a lot of people are applying for a job that the same job that you're applying for. So you want to have something that is going to be representative of what you are all about and what you want to have your image to be, okay? No matter what kind of a resume template you choose, every resume needs certain things. And they like the contact information, your objective, and your education on the first part of the resume. Now, I like to see, personally, I like to see a resume with your information, your contact information up at the very top of the resume. And I like to see it a little bit larger in font size. A little bit larger, not a whole lot, but a little bit, so your name stands out. And while I'm talking about font size, everybody know, or I'm asking about a font. A font is the style of print that you're using. And I suggest that you use Times Roman. That's the name of the font. And the reason I suggest Times Roman is that's what's used most often in business. And because it's used most often in business, it'll be easier for people to read. And always make everything the same size. So you can adjust your font size according to, it can be 12, 14, 18, whatever. That means the size of the print that is going to appear on the paper. That's the important thing, is pick one size and then just for your contact information, make it a little tiny bit larger. So if you're using a 14 point, you might want to do your contact information in 16 points. Does everybody understand that difference in the font size and the font, the type of font that you want to use, or the word font?
Yes.
Okay, everybody's got that. That's thank you very much, Karina. That's really important. Now for your objective, that's the second, actually the first thing on the resume that people are seeing. And there's all different types of objectives that you want to use. And I'm going to go through this one. Here's a career objective that is really going to be something that will stand out. The objective goes directly below the contact information, and it allows the employer to know what job you are applying for and why you want the job. That's a very important thing, of letting people know that you want a job. You go to all this trouble to do, and you may think, well, obviously, if I'm sending in a resume, they know I want the job, but they want to hear it. That most often, the thing that is most often not said, believe it or not, in a job interview is, I want this job. People don't say that, and it's a mistake. It's very important to say that. Okay, back to the objective. Here, this one says, a responsible and ambitious student, and they use their GPA which is important if you have a good GPA. If you don't have a good GPA, then don't use it. Grade point average. Don't use it. But so responsible and ambitious student with excellent time management, seeking to apply my customer service abilities and project/event planning skills to the business development summer internship with your program. Possesses proven communication skills and strong work ethic that will aid your company in meeting its milestones. So it's important that you, in that one little sentence, you have said a lot about yourself. And that's important because when a person gets a resume, they will only give each resume, believe this or not, you guys, 10 seconds. And if they don't find something interesting about your resume within the first 10 seconds, they don't go any further. They won't read any further into your resume. So a powerful objective is very, very important. And it also will tell the employer, they may have out a lot of different job offers. And so you want to let them know, make it easy for them to know what job it is that you are actually after. Excuse me. After that is your education. And your education is, you only list the highest level of education that you have reached. So if you are a high school graduate, that's where you would stop. Or if you are about to graduate from high school, then you could put down the date of your expected graduation. And tell them that you have a high school, or if you do have a high school diploma, let them know that you've got a high school diploma and when you got it. And if you're in college, great. If you are not in college, don't let that discourage you, everybody. College is a nice thing, but it is not the end all and be all. I am a high school graduate. And when I retired from my business life, after 44 years of being in business, I owned 6 businesses. So I became successful. Not only did I become successful monetarily, but I became successful as far as my life was concerned because I was really happy in what I was doing. And that's a very important thing. You want to pick something that is going to be really good for you and things that you love to do. That's a very, very important thing. So put down your education. If you're in college, put down that you're in college and that maybe you're in your first year of college or second year, or maybe you are about to graduate. I don't know the age group of most of you, so please excuse me. Okay? Then you want to go to finding your strengths. Now, if you don't have a lot of work experience behind you, my suggestion is that you, at this next level, after the education, you put your strengths. And your strengths can come from any volunteering that you have done, sports teams that you might have been on, or previous employment. And that employment doesn't mean necessarily that you were paid to be employed. It means that you worked for somebody. Maybe you volunteered your time. If you don't have any of that, maybe you've got family responsibilities that you are always taking care of at home, bring those up. If that you're responsible. People want to see that you're responsible. And school organizations and so on, community organizations, if you've done work at a soup kitchen, or you've passed out food to the homeless, or you've done any of those things that you have done, those are all strengths. They're great strengths. And so you can see that this has got creativity, judgment, perspective, bravery, all different sorts of things that you have done or possibly have done. Use those words. They're very important to use the words. So you're going to write your skills and your achievements in the next area. So if you have done something in particular that, like Student of the Month or Employee of the Month or a Leadership Award or something like that, this is the time to put that in. And it's all important. So if you got most promising math student of the year, and even if it was in 2019, put it down. It's important. People want to see all of the awards and honors and anything that you have done in the past. Okay? Does anybody have any questions so far? Are you using the chat box? Anybody? I don't have the chat box up, so I can't see. Karina, do you have any questions?
No questions.
No questions? Are you getting this all okay?
Yes.
Okay. How about you, Rosie? How about you? Can you unmute yourself, Rosie? I see a lot of you are on the phone, so I know it's difficult for you. I'm sorry.
Hi, John. This is Rosie. How are you?
Hi, Rosie. How are you doing?
Good, and you?
I'm good. Thank you very much. Do you have any questions so far, or have we covered everything pretty much the way you want it covered?
Right now, I don't have any questions. I'm looking at everything, and everything's making sense to me.
Oh, good. Okay.
I'm just following along with you.
Oh, good. Good. All right. I'm glad to see that. Okay.
Thank you, John.
Thank you, Rosie. I appreciate you chiming in.
Thank you.
Anybody else want to chime in? Any questions so far? Okay, we're going to talk about your work history. If you don't have a lot of work, if you don't have a lot of work history, your work history would come next. So, and what you want to do is present the past employment that you've had, including the dates that you've worked for companies, job titles, relevant skills and accomplishments. What was the actual job that you did, and what skills did it teach you? That's the important thing. What skills did it teach you? And what makes you a good candidate for the job that you're looking for right now? Everything that you list is listed in reverse chronological order. And what that means is you start with the most recent and go backwards. So if you've worked someplace, you're working someplace right now, and you started there in December of 2019. So you would put December of 2019 to present. that you've worked at ABC Corporation. And before that, you might say that you worked at Ajax Rent-A-Car. And that job lasted from 2018 to 2019. And the date, it doesn't have to be the exact date, but the month is good. Okay, that's important. You want to start with your most recent work first, as I just said, and make sure that all of it is listed out. Now, even as I said before, even if it's something that you haven't necessarily been paid for to do, put it down. If it was you know, volunteer work. It's all important work, okay? Now, when you're looking for the next thing is references. And a lot of people don't think that this is important, but it is extremely important that you put down references on a resume. Remember, you want to try and keep your resume to 1 page as best as possible. And then, but still, you can put your references down and you can spell it out as I've spelled it out on this particular example with Jacob Stevens, Associate Professor of History at the New York University, and his phone number and his email address. If you don't feel comfortable putting all that information, you could say Jacob Stevens, professor at NYU, and that's it, and no phone number. And the same thing would go through all of them, and then down at the very bottom, put research contact information upon request. That works out just as well. So all of it is important, though, that you do have references. When you go to ask someone to be a reference for you, you always want to ask permission before you use them as a reference. And in this manner, let me explain what that means. If you are asking, say for instance, somebody were to call me and say, John, can I use you as a reference? I would say, absolutely. How are you going to use me? Say it's one of the boys that I've mentored. I'm making this up. One of the boys that I've mentored that has happened to work for me as well in my business, I may say to him, okay, you're going to use me as a reference, but how are you going to use me? Are you going to use me as a future employer, or are you going to use me as your mentor? And that's important, because what I want to be ready to do when the person calls me to ask about you is I want to be prepared to give them the correct information that they're looking for. I don't want to, if he says to me that I'm going to use you as a work reference, I don't want to start off the conversation as, oh yeah, I've known Jose since he was 7 years old and da-da-da-da, and I've mentored him and so on. They don't care about that. They want to know what he was like on the job. And so then I would talk about Jose on the job. So always get permission. Don't let people be taken by surprise. That's a very important thing. Now it's important for you to start creating these references. So people that you're meeting in school, or people that you work with, work alongside of, or your bosses, or maybe not your bosses, but maybe there's somebody that is in the office with you that you've worked long and hard, many hours with, that you can use them as a reference, and they can talk about you and give a good reference. Obviously, that's what you want, is a good reference. So when you're going through and you're looking for words to describe your work ethic and about you, there are a lot of words that are really wonderful to use. And I suggest that you jot these words down, because these are really good words. Type them out if you want, or write them down, but they're really powerful words in a resume. And they're personable, enthusiastic, determined. So you can say, I'm very personable and I'm enthusiastic about my job, and I'm determined to do the best job I can possibly do. I will always be reliable and show up on time, and et cetera, et cetera. Does that make sense? Dedicated, team player, outgoing, passionate. And you'll find all these things from what we were talking about before in how to find your strengths. That's how we're going to find out all these things about you. Or you're going to find them out about yourself, of what did you do when you were working at such and such a place? How did it work? Were you passionate about what you were doing? That's a really big deal, to be passionate about what you're doing. I really, once again, I cannot stress enough to all of you. I know that a lot of you will be going out for your first job or your second job, or maybe you've been laid off because of COVID or whatever, and you're not necessarily going to be looking for the job that's going to be your career for the rest of your life. But try and find something that you're going to find at least a little bit interesting and a little bit challenging. Otherwise, going to work every day is just going to be a chore, and you don't want to do that if you can avoid it. So in the strong resume words again, when you're talking about resume words and you're talking about things that you have done in the past, is instead of I planned the class party, say that you coordinated the plans for the class party. It makes it sound so much bigger when you've coordinated it, or you've organized a group project rather than I was part of a group project. All these things developed public speaking skills during a class that you took. Maybe you took an English class and they had speaking, speech class that you had to take, and you want to tell people that you developed public speaking skills from a speech class that you were in. Or if you've done work before, maybe you've presented multiple business proposals to corporate giants or to whoever. And if you were a group leader of some sort, a manager of some type or whatever, you might want to say that you delegated jobs. That's a very powerful word, is delegate. And that's a word that is used because what you've done is you are telling other people what to do and how to do it. And that takes a certain amount of skill. That's important to do. So one thing you don't want to do is use the one word over and over again. Like, you don't want to say, and I'm making this up, obviously, if you worked at Starbucks, you don't want to say, I worked with customers and their orders. I worked with the assistant manager to organize the back room. I worked and stocked shelves and inventory on a regular basis. Change it up a little bit and say, I helped customers with their orders, or I assisted the manager to organize the back room in order to keep organized and maintain the store order, or you organized and stocked shelves and inventory on a regular basis. All of these descriptive words set you apart. Now, I can tell you that you can send out a resume that is okay and not necessarily that you have put work into and come up with these strong words and so on and so forth. You can send out that resume, but the chance of getting the job is slim to none, because you want to be as precise as possible with people, because they want to know, especially in this day and age, they want to know that they're getting the best possible person. So take the time to do this. Another thing that you've got to remember is this is the first thing, and I said it in the beginning of talking about resumes, but this is the first thing that they have seen from you. And so it's going to make a real big difference in what they think of you. And you've only got, as I said to you, just that very few minutes to be able to, very few seconds actually, to get their attention. And so they want to see it as neat as possible and as put together as well as possible. So next, we're going to talk about, first of all, before we talk about anything else, I'd like to know if anyone has any kind of question about what we've talked about so far. Now is a good time to, let's go through those. Or is anyone using the chat? Can you tell me? I can't bring it up on my screen for some reason. Anybody there? Hello? Okay. I'm going to assume that everybody has got this pretty well together. Let's talk about the cover letter. The cover letter, a lot of people nowadays think that it's old school, that you don't need to do it. But in reality, you do. It's important that you do a cover letter. And the reason being, depending upon where you're going to work or applying for a job, depending upon where that is, some places really do require a cover letter. And they may not tell you they require it, but they do. And they want to know, if you read about a job, for instance, in the newspaper or LinkedIn or Craigslist or whatever, and you see that the job is out there, what you want to do is you want to write, you're going to send your resume, but on top of that, you want to write a cover letter. And a cover letter goes on top of the resume. So the first thing that the person will open is that. And what it is a short description of why you are the right pick for that particular job. So, for instance, if you find out that a job is whatever the job happens to be about, you want to write how your skills work towards that job. It's a formal letter. Every single cover letter is custom made for the particular job. And when I say a formal letter, I mean up at the very top, just like with the resume, up at the very top, you want to put your name, address, telephone number, and your email address. When you do that, everybody, I know that you're all used to doing that on a regular basis. Go back and make sure that you have done everything correctly. Proofread it. And I always have at least 2 sets of eyes look at everything that goes out of my office, because people will pick up on mistakes that I have made, not intentionally, obviously, but mistakes that I've made. And so make sure that you've spelled everything out correctly. It's a concise document that shows the future employer that you understand the job for which you're applying. So let's talk about the opening paragraph. This is just an example, but it will help you an awful lot. And I'm going to go through, because I don't know how much of this you guys can see, because I can't see any of you, and I just want to make sure that you're getting the most out of this as possible. I'm going to read it for you. Dear Mr. Lee, I'm writing to you to express interest in the graphic design position as advertised on Indeed.com. As a recent graduate with experience in 3D animation software and the Adobe suite of software, I believe I'm a strong candidate for a position at Cancel Collaborative Arts. Okay, so that's a real big opening, because you've told them why you are qualified for the job, what you've got that other people may not have, and you've put it right out there, and that's going to get their attention right off the bat. It tells why you're writing the letter. And why are you writing the letter? The bottom line of why you're writing the letter at all is because you want a job. And remember that you are writing it because you want a job, and you want to tell them that you want the job. Okay? Then you get into the body paragraphs, the body of the letter, and you would say, during my time at the University of Northern State, I was awarded the top prize in the student design competition for my version of an app that would allow students to learn Japanese characters on their own time. Okay? In addition to graduating with a 3.75 GPA, I spent a semester at the university in Japan, and I have strong conversational skills in the Japanese language. I believe this would be an asset, as I know your studio does a lot of collaborations with major design studios in Japan. That leads me to tell you something else. If any of you are bilingual, always let it be known first thing on your resume, not first thing, but definitely put it on your resume as part of your strengths and skills that you're bilingual or trilingual or whatever. It's a huge plus. You definitely want people to know it. It's so important that this guy here has written it and put it into the cover letter, okay? Although I'm a recent, go a little bit further down. In closing with the letter, you're going to say, although I am a recent college graduate, my maturity, artistic skills, ability to work with others, and knowledge of the Japanese language and culture will make me an asset for your studio. You want to tell them why you can be the best for them. Let them know right away before they even bother going through your resume why you are so important for their company. I've enclosed my resume and will email you within the next week to see if we can arrange a time to speak further. Thank you for your time and consideration. Sincerely, Lucy, an applicant. And what you do after you have typed that letter is you write sincerely your salutation to them, and you skip 4 lines down and you write your name. In this particular case, it's Lucy Applicant. Then what you do is you print that letter and you sign it between sincerely and Lucy Applicant in that 4 lines. You sign it with it's always best to use a blue pen when signing anything that is a legal document. It's just a good thing to do, okay? So I like to use sincerely. I think sincerely is really the best to do. You can say best regards, something like that, but usually I think sincerely is the better way to go when you're typing this out, okay? If you can include an endorsement in your cover letter or any place on your resume, an endorsement is something that someone else has said about you, not you. So in other words, I'm going to read you a couple of sample endorsements because they're important to know of when you have an endorsement and somebody else says something good about you, it makes it much, much more powerful. So after completing a recent group project, my teacher had this to say about my work. Alyssa is a born leader. Her classmates had only positive feedback to share about her. I was impressed by how she delegated work to the group members according to each person's strengths. Now, imagine if Alyssa goes in to this job interview and she says to the person, by the way, I want you to know I'm a born leader and you're only going to get positive feedback about me because I just know how to delegate work and I'm really, really good on the job and I know how to pick out people that are good at certain things. If you put that down, that's not going to be a good thing. I mean, if you say that, it's not a good thing because it makes you sound like you're really full of yourself. However, if somebody else has said it about you, then it means that it's much more powerful because somebody else said it. Okay? One more. is my supervisor at my last job described me as reliable in all situation and always a great team player. Those are both good sample endorsements. You can get a sample endorsement from a teacher or from a friend, as long as, or whoever. You don't want to say, my mom tells me I'm good at washing dishes, obviously. But you want to have something to do with what the job would be all about. Very important to have a sample endorsement if you can. Okay, let's do a review of what we talked about. We've got filling out an application and resumes, the resume, writing a resume, and the cover letter. So with that, what I'd like to do is I'd like to see if there's anybody. I'm going to blank out this screen that I'm sharing with you because I want to see if there's anybody had any questions. Does anybody have any questions while I'm looking?
No.
Everybody pretty much got it? I'm not able to get into. Karina, I'm sorry. Thank you, Karina. I'm not able, as you can see, I'm wrestling with how to get to the chat box. Can anybody help me here? Rosie, can you help me? Well, I don't seem to be able to. Oh, stop the share. Chat box, got it. Okay. Here we go. Rosie to everyone. Hi, John, this is Rosie. Yes. From, is it Jan Glatt? You have questions? What if I had a minor in possession of alcohol that is considered a criminal? Is that considered a criminal record? If it is considered that, if it is on your record. Otherwise, I wouldn't worry about it. And because I don't think that it's a felony, I hope that helps you. But I think that it is, if you're under 18, a minor in possession is a felony. So you would have to say that. And I would definitely bring that up. And let's see. If someone has a gap in work history, do you suggest they should list the date, year they worked? Yes, I still think that's a good idea. It's a good idea to list the date and the year. And if you have a gap, you just have to be prepared to tell the person that you are applying for the job with what you were doing and what you were doing during that time. Maybe it's something that I needed some personal time. I didn't have a job because of COVID. I didn't have a job because I was in school or whatever. So yes, definitely you want to you want to say something. You want to put it down that you had a work gap, because they're gonna find out anyway. And best that you know. Does anyone else have any questions? Karina, do you have one? I see you up on my screen here. Can you unmute yourself?
Yes, no questions for me right now.
Oh, no question for you. Okay, no one else? Well, I thank you all very, very much for listening. And I look forward to seeing you the next time. And we're going to then go into yet another idea of research and why research is so very, very important before you go for a job interview. So with
Thank
that,
you, John.
thank you. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you. Bye-bye.